Fine. So in the last session, we have seen how to create the implementation user. We created implementation user and we assigned the roles called application implementation consultant and IT security manager. These two roles are seeded roles. These two roles are provided by Oracle. And also we discussed about the purpose of those roles. So before we proceed further in the system process, I'll just take you through a few points related to the course curriculum. Okay. So as we discussed earlier, these 5 applications would be key applications. Along with that, we'll just get to know about expense tax. And as a part of SCM, so these are the applications. These are the primary cycles which we have to aware when we are working on financials. We'll come across rapid implementation and various reporting options which are available in the application. We'll work on the data conversions. So how to load this master and transactional data and the security console, FSM. So BPM, this would be the primary just agenda for this entire program. And if you look into the details of each and every application from general ledger application, we'll go through all these basic setups. And these are the various concepts which we are going to learn from general ledger application. Okay. So many concepts require additional configuration that we will see when we are working on the system. The next application is accounts payables. So there are certain basic setups which need to be completed to start using the payables. These are the list of setups which you have to complete. Once we are ready with the setups, then we can start working on the different concepts which are available within the payables. These are the different concepts or different functionalities or features are available from payables application. So many concepts require again additional configuration. Certain concepts, yes, you can execute based on the basic setups, and certain concepts you have to perform the additional configuration. Okay. We'll see that. The same way receivables, what are the basic setups we are going to complete and what are the different topics we are going to handle within the receivables application. Here is the list. In the same way for cash management, the bank statement reconciliation, maintaining the bank accounts, etc. And again, fixed assets, this is what we are going to see. And expense and the tax and the P2P cycle. Okay. And O2C, just whatever the level of information we require, we will see that you don't need to configure. We never do that for reality. So this is all about the course curriculum. Okay, I'll ask the team to share across all the participants so that even you can go through from your end. So that's all about the course curriculum we have. Now, let's get into the system. So we created implementation user in the last session. Now let's focus on FSM. To start with the system, any sort of configuration, we have to understand about FSM. From FSM only, you can start with the system configuration. Any application you want to implement, you have to start from FSM. So when I talk about FSM, first step is user creation. Yes, already we completed. Whenever you get access to instance, we have to create our implementation user with the required roles. Once user is ready, what we have to do? So whatever we discussed as a product families, like financials and say SCM, supply chain management, HCM, PPM, procurement. In short, you can say PRC, CRM, many product families we have. These are all product families as per FSM. As per FSM, we call as offerings. We call as offerings. We call as offerings. That is a terminology we have to understand. Reality, these all are product families, but as per FSM, these we call as offerings. Specific product family we are calling as offering as per FSM. If you call financials as offering, inside of financials, we have a different application. Say we have a GL application, AP, ER, CM, FA. So each application as per FSM we call as option. We call as option. Okay, offering and option. This is the terminology we have to understand as per FSM. As per FSM, thus each and every product family we are calling as offering, and each and every application we call as option. Offering and option. This is the terminology we use in case of FSM. Now, as a part of implementation, the very first step is user creation. The next step is what are the offerings and options we are going to implement for the client. Those we have to enable in the system environment. We have to enable offerings and options. So your client taken the subscription for only finance and SCM, but in every environment, you will see remaining offerings also. If you are taking the subscription for finance and SCM, you will be able to see HCM, PPM, procurement, and other offerings, but we are not supposed to use those since we don't have subscription for those offerings and relevant options. So, as per the scope of the implementation, we have to enable offerings or options. So, your client taking the subscription for only these two offerings. As a finance consultant, we implement finance. As a supply chain consultant, they will implement SCM. But when we are going to enable, we have to enable only these. In the system, you can see all these offerings also, but we should not enable. You may enable, but you should not use those. This is what we have to understand. Say your client taken the subscription for finance. Okay, you have to enable the finance so that you can start using the finance. And within the finance, again, what are the applications? What are the options your client subscribe? That is also another point. So you may subscribe finance, but within the finance, you may subscribe only these three applications. And within the financials, you enable those three options. If you want to enable all the options, yes, you can enable. There is no issue, but you are not supposed to use cash management and fixed assets since no subscription you have taken from Oracle. So Oracle will give you the options and the offerings to enable, but we should know which one we have to enable, which one we should not enable. That always based on the subscriptions what we are taking from Oracle. This is a point we have to understand. So why we have to enable? If you don't enable offerings and options, those you cannot implement. Those you cannot implement. That is the reason we have to enable the offerings and options. So any questions here, please? To understand offerings and options, any questions, please?
Sir, recently you have shown the curriculum of the course. So in the real time, will there be any flow like first this should happen, then this should happen, like any kind of?
That flow only we are following now. The flow
Okay.
is first we'll create the user. The next
Okay.
step is we have to enable offering. What we do in the real project, the same we are going to execute here. Same sequence. I'm not going to drive you in the different route for learning. Same process, same sequence of steps we are going to follow. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Any questions here, please? Any questions from anyone to understand these offerings and options?
Uh, how Oracle will charge for these offerings?
How much?
How Oracle will charge for these
Yeah,
offerings like financials and
fine. They charge based on the headcount of users. Say your client subscribed financials. They subscribe these three applications or all applications. For AP, how many user logins they require? Headcount. And again, for how much duration, how much period. They are taking subscription for just initially for 2 to 3 years or 5 years or directly 10 years. How many users are going to work based on the application head count, and time frame. These are the parameters. Yep.
Yeah, okay. Thanks.
Right. Okay. If no questions, we'll proceed. So we have to enable offerings and options. After enabling offerings and options, we can start doing the setups in the system. We can start doing the configuration in the system environment. So that you can do directly, or else you can create one project and you can do. So after enabling the offerings and options, we create implementation project. What are the implementation project we are discussing here? This is related to only setups, to perform the setups. Okay. We should not take this point as the entire implementation, how we do for the client. No. Within the implementation, one of the activities doing the setups. To do the setups, we create an implementation project in the system. So with the help of implementation setup, quickly you can perform the setups. How you can do and what are the advantages of implementation project, we will understand. Okay. So we have to create the implementation project. What purpose we are going to create implementation project? To perform the setups. To perform the setups. Done. Now, after creating implementation project, you can assign, okay, you can assign the resource to the respective offerings and options. Who is going to work on financials, or else within the financial, which consultant is going to work on payables, receivables, GL. You can assign the members to the project related offerings and options. You can take the point as, or else another point. We create implementation project. How we create implementation project? By selecting offerings and options. Say you are creating implementation project, you are going to implement financials and SCM. You will select those financials into this implementation project. Okay. So we include, say we include offerings and options. That's how we create implementation project. Once you create implementation project by including offerings and options, if you don't enable offerings and options, you cannot select anything into your implementation project. Since these are enabled, system will allow you to include those offerings and options into your project. Once you create implementation project by including offerings and options, then system creates task list. Say system creates task list. Okay, system creates task list. System creates task list. So what does it mean by task list? So if you want to implement payables, you have to do certain setups. All those setups, it will create as a task list. It will list out all the setups that only we are calling as a task list. To implement receivables application, we have to perform certain setups in the system. That list of setups system will create as a task list. So you created implementation project and you selected offering called as financials. Within the financials offering, you selected all these options. Now to implement all these options, nothing but all these applications, system creates the task list. By following those task lists, you can do the setups. Okay, system creates the task list. Now what we can do is, which consultant is going to work on which offering, or else on which option, that we can assign. You can say assign team members to offerings or options. So which consultant is going to work on which offering and option, that we have to set in the system, but you can do as an assignment. Once consultants will start working on the system in the sense here doing the setups. Once consultant will start working on the system, so the consultant can update the status. Say the finance consultant completed AP setups. The consultant can update the status as AP setups completed. Says SCM consultant started working on SCM application configuration. SCM consultant can update the status as work in progress. Or else you can say here is work in progress and AP is completed and FA is not yet started, or else you can set these all application setups are completed. So this is how you can update the status of the progress, what are the setups you are doing. Say, so after assigning, we'll start doing the setups. Okay, we can start doing the setups, or you can call as configuration. And as a team member, we can update the status. Update status. You can update the status, AP setups completed or not. Or else within the AP, say for example, you have 10 setups. You can specify out of 10, how many completed, how many not yet started, how many are in progress. It's all the variety of statuses you can set. By setting the statuses, you will be able to track the progress of the project. Here, project means only setups. We can track progress of setup status. Okay. Setup related status only. So here, what are the implementation project we create in the system that is completely related to system configuration. So this is what we can do by enabling offerings and by creating implementation project. Okay. So first we have to create our own user and assign the required roles. What are the required roles? Application implementation consultant and IT security manager, so that you can access to FSM and to security console. That means full access. What is the next step? We have to enable offerings and options. We have to enable offerings and options. After enabling the offerings and options, create implementation project. Within the implementation project, which applications we are going to implement, those we have to include as offerings and options. Then automatically system will create the task list. Task list is nothing but list of setups which need to be performed to implement the respective applications. And you will be able to assign which resource is going to work for which application or which offering. And consultants will start doing the setups, and they can start updating the status also, which applications are implemented, which applications are in progress, which application not yet started. Since the resource are assigned, the status is updated, we'll be able to track the progress of the setup process, as well as which resource is working on which activity, which task. So again, enabling offerings and options is mandatory task. Okay, it is a mandatory. But doing all these setups are optional. Without creating implementation project, okay, without creating implementation project, you will be able to do the setups. That is also possible. We'll try both. Okay, we'll try both. So here, these all setups. Okay, these all setups, these all are optional. Creating implementation project and including offering options. System will create task list. You can assign the team members and updating the status. These all are not mandatory. Okay, what you can do is you can enable offerings and options, then you can start doing the setups. This is also possible. Okay, so we'll follow this process first, then we will see how we can do the setups without implementation project also. We should aware there are certain benefits also if you create implementation project. We'll discuss those points. Okay, so before we go and see in the system, any questions from anyone, please?
Lakshman, so
Yeah.
once the assigned to the team members to the offerings and options,
Yeah.
so automatically the relevant task list will be shown under the respective persons, right?
No, not like that.
Okay.
Everything everyone can see. Who has access to FSM, functional setup manager? Means if you assign, say you have 5 team members for financials, 5 team members will assign application implementation consultant. So all the consultant can see entire project. Within the project, which is assigned on their name, they will be able to view. But rest of offerings and options also every consultant can see.
Okay. So those task list to the respective the persons that will be done by system.
Yeah, we are assigning. Yes,
Or,
we are
or
assigning
can
to
we
those.
manually assign?
Yeah, manually we are assigning. Yes. So manually we are assigning the same the consultant can see, which is assigned on their name.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I think
again, no
those
control over
point
there. Say, I may assign payables to one consultant, receivables to another consultant, but there is no control. That is just for information only. So AP I am assigning to consultant A, AR I am assigning to consultant B. But B can work on AR, AP also. A can work on AR also. Or A can work on both, or A can work on any application also. No control, just information purpose. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it.
Yes.
But it is good compared to the EBs. The real time we have to track the some setup depends on something. So I think this is a good one. The Fusion they released
Correct,
it for
correct.
the
In the
setup
EBS, we don't
tracking the
have
setup.
this sort of kind of updating tracking. Yes, here you can associate the relevant task to the respective team members, and they can keep tracking the progress, how much percentage of setups are completed, how many setups are overdue, how many setups need to be completed within coming 1 week or 2 weeks. This is all we can track. We'll see those.
These are like
Yeah.
inbuilt feature of Fusion that it shows I mean progress on the setups and everything, or is something we need to configure?
No, based on your updates only, system will show the progress of the status.
Okay.
Automatically, system cannot understand anything. Say, for example, you completed AP setups.
Okay.
Okay. By default, AP status would be say not started. You started working. Then you can update the status as a in progress.
Okay.
Even if you start working on the AP, if you don't update the status as in progress, system cannot take the status automatically. You
Okay.
have to initiate. Say you completed all the AP setups. If you update the status as completed, then only system can display the status as completed, or else the status may remain as not started. But reality, you completed all, but you not yet updated status. We have to do it. There is no automation in the system. Whatever we are doing, you can update so that other team members can see and understand, and everybody will be able to have a great visibility what is happening in this project with respect to setups, not rest of activities of implementation, only setups.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it works. Fine. Now let's get into the system and we'll see how to enable offerings and options, then how to go through all these points. Yep. So when we go through, we will understand, okay, rest of the points also. If you have any questions, we'll discuss. Yep. Otherwise, if we are standing here, since we are not seeing system, we may get many questions. Yep. So we'll go and enable offerings and options. Okay. Fine. We'll go and enable offerings and options. This is a user we created in the last session, right? So now we have to go to offerings and options. Just take the navigation, how to go to offerings and options. Click on username. Click on username. Click on setup and maintenance task. Click on setup and maintenance task. Okay, click on username. Click on setup and maintenance task. Now we are in FSM homepage, functional setup manager homepage. Here you could see actions. Here we have actions button. Click on drop down. Click on actions drop down. And in the list of actions, we have one of the action called as go to offerings. We have one of the action called as go to offerings. Just select it. Just click on go to offerings. Click on go to offerings. Now we could see all the offerings which are available within this environment. Okay, within the instance, what are the different offerings are available, you can see here. Fine. Now, let's talk about offerings, what we discussed. So financials, where is the financials? Here is the financials offering. Okay, here is the financials offering. And we discussed about SEM. SEM you don't see as a one offering. You have to combine few and then it will become offering. So if you want to implement SEM, you have to select order management and you have to select procurement. Within the procurement only will have a purchasing application and you have to select product management, which is related to inventory. If you combine these three, that we call as SEM. Why Oracle given these as a separate? These all Oracle introduced as a different offerings in the different time frames. So initially Oracle introduced procurement, then product management later, and order management later. That is the reason, like financials, SCM is not available as a one single grouping. Okay, but if your client is going to implement SCM, these all need to be enabled, then that will become SCM. And HCM. If any client is going to implement HCM, so they have to consider for HCM implementation workforce deployment and workforce development. Okay, workforce deployment and workforce development. Workforce deployment means deploying the employees in the organization, HR, payroll, and all you can take. Workforce development means the talent, options, etc. Other applications will be part of it. If you combine this workforce development and the deployment, that is called as a HCM offering. Okay, they are giving these two as a sub offerings, but reality HCM means if you combine these two, that is called as HCM. The same way PPM, project portfolio management. Here you can see. So again, projects also they are not giving as a single offering. Okay, PPM is single offering, but here with respect to giving the solution, you have to combine project execution management and project financial management. If you combine these two, that will become PPM. In the project financial management, primarily you will have an application called as project costing and project billing applications, which deals with the finance. Costing, finance related, billing, finance related. So within this project financial management, you'll have primarily application called as project costing and project billing. And in the project execution management, it's more related to your kind of activities like project management, resource management, and other activities where finance related activities are not involved. So if you combine this project financial management, project execution management, that is called as PPM offering. And procurement. Okay, procurement directly they given separate. This is how like different. So you can see financials as a direct and procurement as direct. Rest all you have to club, then only it will become separate offering. And the other one is the risk management. Risk management is nothing but you can take it as GRC. Governance, risk and compliance. That is separate application. So this risk management, okay, RMC you call. Reality short name is you call as RMC as for fusion. GRC it was there in the EBS also, but here we don't use the name directly. Oracle is not using that name directly here for display purpose. They are giving the name as risk management. Risk management means RMC, risk management cloud. Okay, risk management cloud, RMC, or you can say GRC also. So these are the separate application where you can set certain rules and conditions and some SOX complaints and audit complaints, etc., etc. All you can set and you can keep reviewing anybody is violating any rule. Simple example where you can use RMC and all. So you have a financials. In financials, you have AP. As per the SOX complaints or your company policy, so you should not give access to same user for invoice creation and payment creation. Okay, that may be SOX complaints, internal policy or rule. If you give access to one user for invoice creation payment, they can create invoices and they can make the payments. No control. So the invoice creation function we should give to one user and another user will be working on the payments. And another complaints may be the one user should not have access to supplier creation and invoice creation. If you give that access, they can create any supplier, any organization they can create as a supplier, and they can create invoices. Since invoice is available, payment team will process the payment. And again, you should not allow that one employee to to make the payments and to create the bank accounts, etc. So those all rules can be defined within the GRC or RMC. Okay, all the complaints can be built. If any violations from here, you will be able to see. Once you create the rule, multiple users will be working on the system. Maybe if organization is big, the users will be in the hundreds and thousands also. So you cannot go and verify each and every user who is violating, for whom we give an invoice as well as payment creation access. You may not go and cross check. It is not easy task. If you use this RMC, risk management, you will be able to mitigate the risk. You can identify those who has some policy violation related access, and then immediately you'll come to know and you can take the action. You cannot control, you can review and you can take action. So somebody has access to invoice creation, to payment creation, you cannot prevent with RMC. You can get to know. Then you can talk to why this guy has access to invoice creation, payment creation. It is a big risk is involved. So that's how you'll come to know, and you can talk to the respective team and why you got access, who given access. Then you can take the necessary action, whether you have to permit because of some reasons, or else since it's a violation in the company, you may take action like to removing the payment access or removing the invoice access. So that's how you can take the necessary action so that you can reduce the risk, and you can just you can maybe some fraud, etc. Those all things also you can prevent. So this is how we can see the different offerings available within this instance. Say your client subscribed only for financials and procurement, but still you will be able to see all these offerings. But we are not supposed to implement this since we don't have any subscription. That's all. Now, what we have to do, why we are here? We have to enable the offerings and options. Let's see that. Select financials. Okay, just click on this financials icon, what they're given. Now, within the financials, what we have, what are the solutions are available that you can see the right side with the description. If you select financials, it will display finance related offering information. If you select procurement, it will display procurement related summary of information. We are selecting financials now. So what is part of financials? What we have inside of financials? Let's see. Within the financials, we have assets. Okay, it includes assets. Assets nothing but fixed assets. And we have a ledgers. When you say ledgers, it refers general ledger application. But call general ledger application as a general ledger only, don't call it ledgers. But just the reference they're given like that. Ledger, it refers general ledger. And they're given cash cycles, nothing but cash management application. And invoicing and payments, where we record the invoices and payments and payables. That means payables is part of financials. And directly they given the application name as accounts receivables. And collections, there will be collection function. Okay, so you have a collections within the receivables, and you have a separate application also called as advanced collections application. Also you have separate application. It won't come along with your receivables. It is separate subscription you have to take. And subledger application, it is not a application. Okay, subledger accounting, it is not an application. It is kind of one of the very important functionality which will be useful across all the applications. We'll come to know, we'll work on that subledger accounting also. And tax configuration, already we discussed tax application. Okay, fusion tax. And here you don't see something called as expense, but expense also part of finance. Okay, fusion expense application. Okay, so these all are part of this financials offering. Just very high level Oracle is giving that information. Now you can notice the status of financial offering is enabled. This instance we are using for our practice and training purpose. That is the reason within this instance, this is already enabled. If it is a fresh instance, you see the status as not enabled. Okay, you see the status as not enabled. When you see the status as not enabled, you have to click on opt-in features. You have to click on opt-in features. When you click on opt-in features, it will take us to the page from which page we can enable this financial offering. Not only financials offering, as we discussed here, within the financial offering, you'll have a different options. You can enable financials. Within the financials, which you are going to implement for your client, those you can enable. That means by clicking on opt-in features, we will be able to enable the selected offering. Within that offering, the different options. Here you can notice. In this instance, already financials enabled. If it is not enabled, you have to enable. When you enable, when you enable financials, automatically you will get general ledger. Without general ledger application, you cannot use any applications within the finance, or not only finance, any other applications also. So general ledger application is a foundation application. You cannot say you want it, you don't want it. By default, you have to use it if you are going to use the financials application. When you enable financials here, automatically general ledger application will be enabled. And if you are going to implement payables for your client, enable supplier invoice processing. Okay, enable supplier invoice processing. Just you have to enable the checkbox. Okay, within the payables, this supplier invoice processing is nothing but payables application. Within that, what we have, you can manage the suppliers, you can manage the payables. Here, payables means invoices. Okay, here supplier invoice processing means that meaning is a complete payable solution. Suppliers you can manage, payables means nothing but invoices you can manage, payments you can manage, and Oracle is giving cash management as a part of payables also. Okay, even it is a separate application, it is very much required in the payables. Otherwise, if cash management is not there as a part of payables, so we cannot maintain the bank accounts. If no bank accounts, you cannot make the payments to suppliers. So if you are using payables application for your company, by default, you get cash management also along with the payables. If you are going to use any one of the finance application, by default, you get general ledger application also. Your plan may be using only invoice payables, but by default, you get cash management and general ledger application. And expense. If you are implementing Fusion expense application for your client, you have to enable this checkbox. These are the offering options. Financials is the offering, general ledger is the option, payables is the option, supplier invoice processing is nothing but payables, expense application is another option, and if you are implementing fixed assets for your client, enable fixed assets also. The same way, you can see different other options. So customer invoice processing is nothing but your accounts receivable application, AR application. Within the AR, again, they are just giving as receivables. So where you can create the transactions and receipts, and cash management also part of receivables. So reason in the cash management, when you are creating the receipts, bank account information is required. And when you are creating the invoices and the receivables, what item you are selling and all you have to select. And collections is another application. So which we call as advanced collections application. In the same way, we have another application called as revenue management cloud services. This we call as RMCS, revenue management cloud services. So intercompany is the functionality, budget is the functionality. These are not options. So these are not options, just these are the separate functionalities. So those also they given. If you are implementing, you can include, otherwise ignore it. Apart from that, here you can see, so along with these applications and functionalities, you have a business intelligence analytics. Okay, BI analytics. If you want to enable this, you will be able to produce the reports, BI reports accordingly. So what reality we do is, whenever we implement financials for any client, you may implement only 2 applications or 3 applications, 4 applications. Reality, we enable everything. You may enable, but you will implement whatever you want to implement, what really client has subscription. So you don't need to go on to specify only I have to enable this. There is no harm. So you can go and enable. You can just come to this page, enable everything. and implement whatever your client requires. That's all. So this is the point we have to understand. Just enable all these offerings and options which you are going to implement. Again, here you can see something as a futures. Here you don't need to change anything. As of now, accept based on the functionalities if what you are implementing. If anything is required, you can come to futures and there you will be able to do the required changes. By default, you no need to touch anything here. So whatever Oracle is giving, you can proceed. What exactly you are implementing accordingly. If something is missing here, you can enable. You can notice almost everything is enabled. For your company, if you are implementing risk management, that is nothing but governance, risk and compliance, GRC. You have to enable here. Already it is enabled. You may implement, may not implement. So that's how all you could see. But you don't need to touch anything here by default. So make sure you are enabling required offerings and options. When you enable offerings and options, you can enable all the options within the specific offering. So when you are implementing, you implement what are the applications client want to implement. So that's how you can follow. Okay. If you want to enable specific options only, you can enable. But if you are enabling everything also, no issues at all. So these are the points we have to understand when you talk about enabling offerings and options within the environment. So any questions here, please?
BPM is part of this of enable procedure, the offering and options.
Sorry?
BPM, business process management.
BPM you no need to enable. Here the BPM is not an application. Say what you enable means wherever you record the transaction that you have to enable. Do you record the transactions in the BPM? No. When you
It's for the
record the
approval.
transaction, the payables, to route the approvals, you use the BPM, right? That is just for
Okay, right.
approval purpose. You don't record business transaction, the BPM. BPM you will use for approvals. That is the reason that you don't need to enable. That will come by default. Yeah. Even your client no need to subscribe BPM. If you are using payables, you can use the BPM. No separate subscription required. Within the BPM, you are not going to record the business transaction. Business transactions you record in the payables. On payables invoices, you may want to set approvals. That's how it is.
Thank you.
Yeah. Fine. So any questions here, please? Okay, we enabled offerings and options. In the same way, you can enable offerings and options for other applications also. Let's look into procurement. What are the different applications we have inside our procurement for our understanding? Select procurement, click on opt-in features, just for information purpose. Just click on opt-in features. So as a part of procurement, we have a multiple applications. Within the procurement, one of the key application is purchasing application. Along with the purchasing, you have application called as supplier portal and self-service procurement and procurement contracts and the sourcing application. These all are part of procurement offering. Okay. So when you compare procurement with the purchasing, procurement is for advanced compared to purchasing. So here you can see list of applications. Within the procurement offering, we have a purchasing application. We have self-service procurement. You can call as iProcurement also. And you have a other application. This you no need to consider. Okay. Supplier portal, and the sourcing applications and the procurement contracts. These are the key applications. Okay. These are the key applications. So we'll discuss about certain processes there. You can understand what is sourcing, what is other applications also. But just for your information purpose, when you say procurement, don't think only purchasing. Along with the purchasing, procurement application, and we have other applications like supplier portal, where supplier directly can submit the invoices in our instance, and sourcing application for negotiation process, and procurement contracts. You may have a contracts with your suppliers in terms of procuring some goods or services. Those all can be managed by using the complete procurement solution. So you no need to do anything with this, just to have a understanding which applications are part of what are the bunch of applications we have within the procurement to know that you don't need to do anything with that. And another point here is, if I select financials, yes, I can go and do enable offerings and options. Apart from that, you can just expand related documents. So within the financials, what are the different functionalities Oracle is offering as a feature? So you can see all those details. For that, Oracle is providing the relevant documents also. So if you want to see what are the different features are available within the financials, you can download any format of document. You can download PDF. Within the PDF document, you can find all the features which are available in the financials, or you can go with HTML, or you download Excel. So all the features Oracle will list out. Apart from that, to implement entire financials, what are the complete setups are available in the system? Those Oracle documented. You can download and you can view. The related business objects and enterprise applications, nothing. It's not useful. If you have to download and you can have a look. So primarily these two. Okay. But you don't need to see that. By seeing also, there is no. Please go on mute. I'll take your question. I'll take your question. Okay, by going through all these, you can just see like what features are there, what setups need to be completed. If you want to understand, you can download and you can see, but that won't be great information for us. Okay,
So
when
is
you
it
get
a user
access, you download these documents and have a look. Yeah, please.
Is it a user guide kind of stuff?
User
Like
guide not. See, it's very simple. You see the title, associated features. Just they'll give list of features which are available in the financials.
okay.
Okay. And that too not as we required, just some different classification they do. And again, setup tasks, list and a task means list of setups what we have to perform to implement entire financials, including mandatory and optional, all. Okay. You may download and you can go through it, but I don't recommend. You don't need to see also. If you want to see, you can see, but you don't learn anything by seeing from that. So that's how we have. And another point here is to understand the instance what we are using, how latest environment it is. What we have to do is click on username, and here is one task called as about this application. Click on about this application. Here you can see how latest environment is this. We'll go one by one. So this is what we have to understand. I'm going to copy everything from here. What does it mean by each and every? The numbers we'll discuss here. Let's copy this into our spreadsheet. So this is what Oracle is giving. So we discussed before fusion, Oracle has versions like 11i, and after 11i R12. Before 11i, there is some other character mode of application also, which was operated with the DOS operating system. But forget about that. That's no more. So 11i, okay, 11i, after that R12. After R12, now directly fusion. Okay, the fusion, they're representing with 11. Okay, version is 11 for fusion also. It's not 11i, 11. Other way, they will represent as 11G. Okay, it's database version also we have 11G, but here fusion application version you can treat as 11G. This is 11. 11 represents so fusion. So within the 11, what Oracle it is, Oracle started introducing the functionalities like this. Okay, so Oracle introducing functionalities. Just let me write those versions. Say in the fusion, they started say 11 point. So 1.1.0.0 and later 11 point, so 2 point, 11 point, 2 point, some 1. So this is how they started updating and all. The After 11, whatever you have, that they started keep changing, that they treated as a release. So client started using Fusion from release 7. And some dots and some numbers they used to give. Later they removed everything. Later they removed, like after that 11.8, then 11.9, 10, 11, 12. Now we are at 11.13. So 13 we call as release 13. Now Fusion latest release is 13. Okay, what is this 24 and 01 and all? So this 24 represents the year. Now we are in the 2024. From 2024, they are taking the suffix of 24. And 01 is the month. That means they are telling this environment is release 13. On this environment, the latest upgrade happened on this month and year. Okay, within this month and year, in Jan month in 2024, latest activity they did, latest upgrade they did. What Oracle is doing is, in every quarter they are upgrading the environment. Okay, every quarter they are upgrading the environment. We are in the first quarter. Yes, first quarter upgrade already taken place. That means this is very, very latest. When you move to the second quarter, in between April, May, June, at any point of time, they can upgrade that environment. Okay. And again, what is this 24A? The short naming convention for this 24 and this 1 means in the first quarter some patch applied. If it's the first quarter, they'll give us 24A, second quarter 24B, third quarter 24C, fourth quarter 24D. So quickly you can understand how latest environment is this. Now we are in the first quarter. Yes, first quarter patch is applied. It's a very, very latest environment. Even if you are working on some environment, it may display as a 24, 23A. No worries. There won't be any greater changes within that. Sometimes they may add some changes and sometimes there may not be any updates related to financials. But this is how you can recognize how latest, what latest environment we are using. Okay. So 24A is the very, very latest, means they are representing in the year of 2024. A means first quarter. Again, in the quarter, in which month they applied the patch, they are talking about here. Okay, 24A is very, very latest. So where you can see the release here, release 13. Here only earlier they used to give 12, 11, 10 also. So release 13, that is the latest Fusion environment. That too, the latest patch is applied in this first quarter only, this current quarter. So this is how you can check the instance, whatever you are using. Now, so if you want to understand, okay, latest one. If you want to understand the new features which Oracle introduced, you can click on this. There you can see the details. Okay, there you can see the details, the available features in 24A. What are the latest features they introduced with respect to financials, you can see. Okay, there will be small changes. They may add one checkbox or they may change certain field behavior or they may add small functionality. That's how you can see. So this is a place where you can see in the latest patch application, what are the features are added. This you can see from here. So that's how it is. Yep.
Yep. So these patch updates are automatically updated from the Oracle, or
Yeah, Oracle will take care of it. Yes, every quarter they will do. They'll have a fixed schedules, region wise and all. They'll keep doing that.
will it impact the custom developments or custom integrations, which are
No,
already
no, it won't. It won't. It won't like. First, they'll apply this on the test environment. We will verify if everything is working fine. Then they'll apply on the production.
Okay, so we'll be informed before they do.
Yes, yes. Always there will be communication with the Oracle
Okay.
through SR, service request.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's how it is. Okay. So just try to understand here. The first point is we have to enable the offerings and options. And other point, if you want to see the latest release related any updates, you can see here. And documents also Oracle is providing. These are not great. If you want to look into, you just click on this, it will be downloaded and you can see. But it's not much useful. That is the reason I'm not touching that. If you want to click on it, click on download and you see. So these are the points we have to understand with respect to enabling offerings and options. We enabled offerings and options. Now we'll go and create implementation project. The purpose of implementation project is to perform the setups, So how to create implementation project? How many implementation projects we have to create? Let's discuss. When you do the implementation for any client, how many implementation projects we have to create? Implementation project creation is not mandatory. You can create 0 implementation projects and you can do the setups also. If you want to create implementation project, create, otherwise ignore it. If you create, there are certain advantages, those we'll discuss. Even if you don't create implementation project in the initial phase of implementation and you may do the setups, later also you can create implementation project. Okay, but we'll understand how to create. Okay, say you want to create implementation projects, how many you want to create? Yes, you can create one implementation project and you can do the setups for multiple countries also. Okay, you can do you can create one implementation project, you can do the setups for multiple countries. So you are implementing for your client for 100 countries. Create an implementation project and you can do all the setups. Otherwise, don't create any implementation project, you will be able to do all the setups. Okay. But anyway, you have to understand how it can be created and all. There are some other reasons why you have to create, but not mandatory. So conditionally, it is mandatory. How those we will come to know. So let's see how to create implementation project. Go to instance. Just come out from this page by clicking on done. So from this page only, you can create implementation project. Anyway, we'll take navigation once again. How to navigate to this page? Click on username. Click on setup and maintenance task. Okay, we'll be routed to this FSM page. Now, here is one notepad kind of icon. This you can call as a task pan or task list also. You just click on this task list. It will contain multiple tasks. Click on task list. So within the task list, one of the task name is manage implementation projects. One of the task name is manage implementation projects. Just click on manage implementation projects task. Since this is a practice purpose, we are using this instance, you can see many projects. Reality, when we are working for the client in the fresh instance, there won't be any projects. This page you see like this. No projects, empty page. Okay, you don't see any implementation projects. And one instance we can use for only one client. Oracle won't allow one instance for multiple clients. Since this is a practice instance, training instance, you can see many projects are created for many companies. But reality, this is not true. We create project for one client only. One instance only for one client. One instance can be used by multiple clients also, possible, but Oracle won't allow. One company will take the subscription, only that company has to use. Okay, so that's how it works. So only we use one instance for only one client. Now let's see how to create the implementation project. Once you navigate to this page, how we are navigating to this page? Click on user, click on setup and maintenance and go to task pan or say task list. Here is the task called as manage implementation projects. Click on the same task. Now we are in the manage implementation project page. So by default in the fresh instance, you don't see any projects. Okay, whatever you create, that would be first project. So who can create the project? Anyone can create. Don't think project manager only can create the project. No. This is related to setups. Setups means who has to do consultant. Again, which consultant has to create implementation project? As a finance consultant, we can create, or else as a SCM consultant. SCM consultant can create, or else PPM or procurement. Any consultant can create the project. There is no rule. Okay, it's because it's very simple. There is no technicality within this. You create the project, you include what you guys are going to implement for the client. That's all. So let's see how to create it. To create new implementation project, click on plus icon. Click on plus icon. So automatically system is taking the project name. Okay, automatically system is taking the project name, implementation project 6. So for which client you are implementing, that name you can provide here. Okay. Say I'll give the name. Say we are implementing for a client called as Max. And the number and all you can remove. So Max implementation project. Use tab, the same it will copy as a code under description. Just use tab from the keyboard. The same name it is copying. So the name we are giving, it is creating the code also, and it is taking the same as the description. What is our project status? Not started. Just we are creating. We not yet started doing the working on this project. Working on the project is nothing but doing the setups. Assigned to. By default, the project will get assigned to the user from which user you are creating this project. Now we are creating this project from the user called as FinIMPL. So it is assigned to the same. Again, if you notice, assignment is not mandatory. Project you no need to assign to any resource. Okay, you can keep it as a blank also. Okay, you can keep it as a blank, or you can select optional. And implementation project means to perform the setups. Okay, to perform the setups, we are creating implementation project. Now you can specify the tentative start and finish date to complete the setups. Maybe you can select you are planning to start working on the setups today and you want to complete all the setups by this 20th. You can set target like this, or I'll say the 25th. Okay, just some tentative schedules, or else maybe 2 months, 3 months you can specify. Okay, but these are not mandatory. Okay, just you may give tentative finish date, or else you leave it as this. So this is how you have to input the data to create the project. The name and code and description automatically system will take. By default, project status is not started. So by default, project will be assigned to the user from which user account you are creating this project. If you want to make it blank, blank, or else you can assign to another users. You can click on search, select search, and you can find out any other user and you assign. Okay, you can assign to any other user also. That is also possible. So provide details and now click on next. If you click on next, what system will do is within this environment, how many offerings options are enabled, those all you can see. Financials already we enabled, right? So if you click on next, you can see finance. Along with the finance, what are the other offerings and options are enabled within this instance, those all you can see. If you don't enable offerings and options, here you cannot see those offerings and options. If you don't see here, you cannot include those into this implementation project. So that is a dependency. Now, what are these? All are the different offerings. These all offerings we are able to see because these all are enabled in this instance. If you don't enable financials within this instance by using the first task we discussed, enable offerings and options. If you don't enable financials, here you don't see financials in this page. Since financials enabled in this instance, we are able to see financials in this page. Now, we are going to implement financials. So, include. When you include financials, it will expand and it will ask you, okay, you are going to include financials. Within the financials, which options you are going to implement for your client, you have to select here. So, payables, supplier invoice processing means payables. And expense and fixed assets. Customer invoice processing is nothing but receivables. Include and include collections, include revenue management, include intercompany, include budgetary control, include business intelligence, the reporting capabilities. So this is just you can include, okay, include. So this is just include and say save and open project. So whatever you included to implement all these, what setups need to be performed, system will create the task list. See, you may implement a 2-3 applications, you can include everything, no issue at all. You can include, you don't set up. That's all. Now click on Save and Open Project. Okay, just click on Save and Open Project. It will take some time. Why it will take some time? For each and every application, it has to create the list of setups. Okay, just include financials, include within the financials different applications which we call as options, and click on Save and Close. Now you can see our project is created, project name is this, code is this, and the status is not started, assigned to the current user, and start date, finish date, all you can see as a basic information. And now you can see whatever we included, you can see here. We included financials. So expand financials. So it created different folders. If you want to implement payables, this is the folder for payables. Define invoicing and payment configurations, nothing but payables. If you expand this folder, there are some subfolders. If you expand subfolders, within the subfolders, you'll have a tasks. These are the tasks we have to use to complete the AP setups. Expand it. These are the setups. The setup will have a go to task icon. If you click on that, you can go to that page and you can do the setup. So that's how for every application, whatever you included, to implement that application, what setups need to be completed here, use the list. See, define fixed assets configuration. If you want to implement fixed assets, here is the list of setups. Expand it. These are all setups you have to complete so that your fixed assets application would be ready to use. Any application. Okay. Receivables. Okay. So you can just look for that receivables. Here is the receivables. Define receivables configuration. Expand. Again, subfolders are there. You expand whatever required, you can do that. We'll do that when we are working on those respective applications. We'll do that. Now, just to understand. So within the financials, what are the options you included? All you can see here. So these we call as a task list. You place the cursor on that folder name. You see the name as a task list. You expand it. Again, just expand any one of the folder. Again, expand any one of the subfolder. Now here you have this name. Okay, this we call as a task. Okay, this is the ultimate one where we can do the setup. Remaining all like based on the relevance, those setups are grouped. Application wise, within the application, invoice related setup separate, payment related setup separate. That's how they are grouping. So that's how this is available. So we created offerings. We enabled offerings and options. We created project and we included financials. Okay. So in tomorrow's session, we'll see how to add additional offerings or only options, how to remove, and we'll just play around this implementation project related, and we will discuss further steps, what need to be followed after creating implementation project. Okay. So we are stopping here for today. If you have any questions, please stay back, we'll discuss.